Got a dream in a tear last night, watched the world fade out of sight. Seen the ghosts of time preside, eagles soared and falcons cried. Sleeping phoenix on a rise. Abundance and strange the skies. Strange the skies. Hello, and welcome to Phoenix Rising, and welcome to 2011. It's going to be an exciting year for us here at Jovian Archive. And there's so many things really that are coming up. To begin with, beginning on the weekend on Saturday, I'm going to start what is an extraordinary experience. That is a course that I offered last year called My Guide to the Movie. And we're going to be nearly 500 students, 500 participants in this program, which is really a remarkable thing and a testament to the importance of online education to bring so many people together from all over the world. It's also the beginning of the second semester, both here at Jovian and at the International Human Design School. There are a lot of really exciting programs that are available, and I certainly encourage those of you who haven't done so already to take a look and see where you can participate and what's there that's of value to you. It's also coming up this spring, the 9th annual Human Design event, and I'm always excited about the annual event. It's a special time, it's always a special gathering. I'm doing something very unusual for this event this year. It's really a focus on immersion and clinics, bringing individuals deeply, deeply into the knowledge and into the possibilities of what can be there for them. So we really have an exciting year that's opening up. And along with that, of course, I'm touring again, and I'm going to be visiting in February. I'm going to be in Barcelona and in Madrid, and I'm truly looking forward to that. So I hope to see you somewhere online or somewhere on the road over this coming year. And now, on with the show.
Yeah, I'm a pure generator, and my authority is sacral, so it's pretty straightforward. I met human design when I met Naila, so it was all in the package, so to speak. And in the beginning, it was kind of just informative what it was, and then I was immediately caught by the way she lived it, and it was kind of congruent with what I had been doing before, but more in a pragmatic sense, so I liked it very much. And now, almost 3 years, I'm into human design, if you wish. I think it's subtle in the sense that, first of all, things become more coherent, little by little, and the relationship between what happens in your head and what happens in your bodily feeling becomes more sharp, more explicit, more distinguished. So I also, what it does, the main thing it did is that it made me aware I shouldn't be living in my head, but in my body. And once that took a couple of months to make the shift. And once that happened, everything gradually started to fall a bit into place. And you know, the sacral strategy of waiting for a response is something that has started to make sense to me. I can't say I'm completely fluent or familiar with it, but it certainly is within reach, within the possibility of doing so.
It's there.
Yeah, it is. And being with Naila, of course, is a big help, because then we can check with each other, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? And it, yes, it really helps. And for the important things in our lives, we really question each other, yeah, at various times. So I've started some time ago. I wanted to go in it very easy and natural and in a way, as it came. And I was a little bit helped by the fact I had some digestive problems in general, so it was a kind of natural thing to experiment with it. Um, but
What is your genre?
it's smell,
Smell.
and my environment is mountains. So open, and it means I have to experiment more with it. And what I learned today about the seasonal changes, that is something I need to include in it more to make better use of it. But it's it's starting to kind of settle a bit. That I know what to eat, not to eat, what not to eat, and so forth. And a couple of weeks ago, I was really, my stomach was terribly upset and so forth, and I couldn't eat for 3-4 days. And this is when my smell became very, very acute, and it was very amazing. I could smell a cup of coffee being poured 5 meters away from me. I noticed it, so I thought, what is this? I haven't, this did not happen to me before. What is it? I smell a cup of coffee being poured at the other side of the room. So this was a kind of confirmation from real life that something is starting to change there. So, but I'm just in the beginning.
Hello there, welcome to the weekly neutrino forecast. And this week the theme is resignation. Well, it's actually been a theme for a while. It's Neptune in the 30th gate, and Neptune in the 30th gate in the third line. The 30th gate is a fascinating thing. It's really something to keep in mind because we're going to see that as we move towards the Rave New Year on January 22nd, when the sun is going to move into the 41st gate, Neptune is still going to be in the 30th gate, and we're going to have a definition that's going to be there. That's going to be a very important life force in terms of the way in which we're going to operate in the coming year. The third line of the 30th gate, resignation, is all about the acceptance of what is. It is, something that is deeply profound and something to understand that there's nothing we can do about the way in which things are going to move now. I mean, the 30th gate has an interesting impact in our lives. It's deeply connected, as I've mentioned, to the 41. It is its polarity, its harmonic gate in the channel of recognition. And everything about this channel is that the 41, being the initiating codon, really starts things. I mean, starts them. And yet it's not logical. It's not about perfection. It's not about getting a pattern right. It's really about desire in motion. And it's a desire that wants to move somewhere. And the 30 stands there with his hand up, the gate of the fates, and says, oh, yes, you have this desire to go from here to there. But, you can't. Sorry. Maybe you try this. Or maybe you go over there. Or maybe you do the other thing. Because you see, the 30th gate represents diversity in the human experiential way. And what we have now with the constant of Pluto in the 58th gate in the second line is that we're dealing with an energy field on this plane in which the way in which energy is moving is being diverted, it's being changed. And there are those that are going to be left out in this process, and there is this resignation that's sitting there while we have crisis all around us. And the crisis, particularly in the case of the Jupiter in the 36-6, the sixth line, justice, those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad. We're entering into a theme that has a lot of potential volatility to it. Now, obviously, if you're dealing with the information in terms of your own process, it's something really to grasp that. If you, for example, have the 18th gate, that the way in which you're going to feel this energy of Pluto in the 58-2 is that it's going to divert you from where you would put your corrective, judgmental energy. It's going to put it someplace else. It's just the way that it works. We're not here to be in the thrall of the program. You're not here to be in the thrall of the program. We're here to slide through the Maya. You have a strategy, an authority. You have a way to navigate on this plane, no matter what's going on in the program. But it is something to grasp, that we're dealing with a frequency that is going to create disturbances on our plane. It will. Now, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, because there's no such thing. I like that saying, good news, bad news, who knows? It's about seeing. And as Neptune in the third line states so clearly, there is nothing to do but to accept what is. See the movie. See it clearly as yourself. And when you do, well, all this weather is just for your pleasure. You have a good week. Last week I gave you a children's nursery rhyme to relationships and understanding the nature of what happens to us, that is the complexity in a sense of what happens to us when we stop being who we are and become something else. That is, if you look at the design of two people coming together, it's one of the things that you get to see right away is that that design, that companionship or partnership chart doesn't look anything like either one of the partners. It really is something else. And it creates its own conditions. But my real subject today is about the dilemma inherent in us. On one side, we are driven by a genetic imperative that makes what we're not so interesting. It makes it so attractive to us. The openness that we have, the hanging gates that we have, draw us to those beings who are inherently different. It's what the genes demand for reproduction, yet at the same time, as we well know, this is an open door to conditioning. My theme today is about sameness. And you see, sameness within the genetic context is boring. Not only is it boring, but it is, in terms of the way the genes operate, potentially even dangerous. Because, of course, sameness is not something that we want to see in our reproductive process. It leads to a dead end. It is variety that allows our gene pool to maintain its vitality. So genes don't like sameness. And yet sameness is something that can be, well, so special. And think about what it's like to be an unemotional being and what it's like to be with unemotional people as opposed to emotional beings. Or if you're a sacral being, what it's like to be with other generators. We all have fundamental areas within our design, in our own nature, that in fact when we meet it in the other is something that can be deeply comforting. Deeply comforting. I'm a manifester. It is one of the things that I enjoy in my life. Many of my friends are manifestors. There is something, well, familiar about being with something that is so similar in a way. It is true about any of the aspects that are there in your design. If you are defined mentally, it's very different to be in a conversation with somebody who's defined mentally than to be in a conversation with somebody who's undefined mentally. You see, one of the things that you get to recognize about the genetic imperative is that in the end it's just about sex. It is about reproduction. It isn't necessarily about relationships. And it is in sameness that we find companionship. But it is a companionship that is not rooted in the same frequency as the sexual drive that is so deeply built into what we are as a form. It is a challenge for us not to reject sameness. It's a challenge for us to begin to understand how important it is to embrace it.
Got a dream in a tear last night, watched the world fade out of sight. Seen the ghosts of time preside, eagles soared and falcons cried. Sleeping phoenix on the rise. abundance and strange the skies.